Hey everyone, and welcome back to MindHop. Many success stories seen on Dragon's Den end up not being quite so successful when it comes right down to it. Even though many entrepreneurs seemingly get decent investments from the dragons, a lot of the deals made on the show don't end up happening for one reason or another. In this follow-up video, we're focusing on another group of companies that could very well be categorized as some of the worst Dragon Den deals they regret taking. Even so, most of these companies still managed to do okay, despite their investors reversing their decisions not long after their initial deals are struck. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to MindHop. Also, comment regrets and we'll give a lucky winner a shout out in the next video. 9. Chica Snacks. Chica Snacks, founded by food producer and former investment banker Chica Russell, has gone on to do great things, despite Dragon Peter Jones pulling his offer to invest £30,000 in her company in exchange for a 25% stake. Initially, Russell was only willing to give up a 5% stake in the company she had painstakingly built, but Jones managed to convince her to agree to a deal that would have worked out in his favor, assuming he hadn't gotten cold feet and had actually followed through with his promise. Russell had impressed all the judges during her pitch and even showed up on stage accompanied by a team of African dancers. She really liked the idea of teaming up with Jones right off the bat because she had already seen him work his magic with reggae sauce. Her business idea fit into the same category, and it really looked like the pair hit it off in a big way when filming for the episode in question wrapped up. Still, she managed to frustrate all of the dragons when she almost turned them all down on air. She just wasn't ready to give up as much of a stake as they tried to demand. But Jones finally wooed her into accepting his offer. Due diligence carried on for 6 weeks after the pair agreed to team up, but the deal ended up not going through for reasons that neither of them have actually clarified since. They don't hold a grudge about their inability to make a deal in the long run, and Russell has since said that simply getting the approval of all the dragons was a huge confidence boost for her. This could be a big reason why she decided to continue to grow her business on her own. And it looks like she's poised to make some serious waves in the world of snack foods, even without Jones's help. We wouldn't be surprised if Jones was still a little miffed about her kicking him to the curb, since spending 6 weeks performing due diligence meant that he had to take his focus off his other projects. But we feel like we should point out that he wasn't really willing to negotiate much with Russell or try to meet her in the middle, even though she obviously had a winning idea right from the get-go. 8. Raw Chocolate Factory.
And there's an authenticity about you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to make you an offer.
Okay.
Even though Deborah Meaton was excited about the prospect of investing in Raw Chocolate Company when the idea was pitched on Dragon's Den, she must regret her decision these days. We're still willing to assume that she at least recouped her investment, which is better than losing it. The company ran into some financial difficulties not long after Meaton agreed to toss Linus Group £72,000 in exchange for 10% of the company. It ended up being scooped up on the cheap by rival company Conscious Chocolate, who merged the two companies and has since been successful at pushing its products with the help of its deep pockets. Raw Chocolate Factory's founder still ended up landing on his feet because he had a personal friendship with Emma Jackson, MD of Conscious Chocolate, who offered to buy the company in order to lend a helping hand to Group when his company's financial losses became too much for him to handle. 7. Tag's Snack Foods. TAG is a company that is said to have received £125,000 from Dragon's Den investors Peter Jones and Deborah Meaton. But it never got a cent out of the two investors when they pulled out of the deal at the last minute. They seemingly ran into some issues during due diligence and opted to revoke their offer, which must have been a bit of a disappointment for John Tagg, the company's founder. If you do a quick search, you'll find plenty of stories hailing the deal as a success story of the show. But a little more digging will reveal that it never actually worked out. It seems like a large percentage of supposed Dragons deal investments go this route, with the company never receiving a dime from the Dragons, which makes us less inclined to take the show's success stories seriously. Despite this obvious setback, Tags is still doing very well for itself, and Tag doesn't resent the Dragons for their about-face with regard to their investment in his company. In fact, just being on Dragon's Den garnered him enough attention to increase sales to the point where he's sitting pretty, no matter what. 6. Vitiligo.
People's outlooks on vitiligo and given them hope with the invention of her product, Vitiligo.
Sarah Willingham must have been really impressed by the Vitiligo pitch, considering that she was willing to toss the company's founder, Polly Gotchi, £37,500 in exchange for 40% of the company. That didn't last very long, however, and the deal never went through, with Gotchi never receiving the promised investment. She still managed to keep the company afloat and has since built it into an amazing brand with plenty of happy customers. It seems that just being on Dragon's Den in the first place is enough to help a company like Vitiligo succeed, even without the help of the dragons. The deal didn't make it past due diligence, and Willingham backed out without saying much about why she decided to withdraw her offer. Vitiligo is a makeup product that aims to cover up a skin condition known as, wait for it, vitiligo, which can cause white patches on the skin due to a lack of melanin in the affected area. 5. Latest free stuff.
So instead, I created Latest Free Stuff as an innovative platform to connect consumers to retailers.
The founder of Latest Free Stuff, Deepak Taylor, was another entrepreneur who had his investment pulled, even though it looked like Deborah Meaden was in it for the long haul with her offered investment of £50,000 in exchange for a relatively meager 10% stake in the company. The deal never materialized, however, and Meaden opted to hold on to the money due to reasons that were never actually disclosed by her or by Taylor. Despite this setback, he still grew his company without her help, and Latest Free Stuff is now worth a whopping £15 million, which is quite an impressive number to say the least. 4. Grounded Body Scrub. Even though the founders of Grounded Body Scrub impressed the dragons during their initial pitch on the hit TV show, their eczema coffee scrub didn't quite pan out for investors Sarah Willingham. The founders, couple Lloyd Hazel and Tasha Harris from Essex, thought that they had a guaranteed deal when Willingham ended up being really impressed by their idea, but they were instead left with no investment at all from her. They didn't actually intend to make a business out of their product when it was first conceived, but decided to give it a go when they realized just how effective it really was. Willingham seemed ready to part with £30,000 in exchange for a 45% stake in the company, which is pretty high as far as we're concerned. This could be why the couple ended up pulling out of the deal, and we're convinced that they ended up receiving a better deal from other investors who were willing to be a little more lenient, asking for less of a stake than Willingham had insisted on. The company is still doing very well for itself, even without Willingham's money. And we have to admit that they really put a lot of work into getting their idea off the ground in a big way. 3. Mason's Beans. Mason's Beans is one of the few companies featured on today's list that had its Dragon's Den deal fall apart when the company ended up failing. Most companies we've talked about have actually done very well for themselves, despite their deals falling apart during due diligence. Mason's Beans stopped trading in May of 2016. Even so, many people still think that the deal that the company's founder, Ben Mason, was one of the show's biggest success stories, contrary to the actual facts. Mason's company focused on creating baked beans with a variety of flavors in an attempt to spice their beans up. Dragon's Den investor Nick Jenkins initially offered Mason's Beans an investment of £50,000 in exchange for a 20% equity stake in the company, and Mason was happy to accept his offer. Even with Jenkins to help him out, Mason's Beans never really got off the ground, although sales did increase for a short period of time when the episode first aired. His products ended up selling across the UK, being found in Selfridges and Fortnum & Masons. It was even made available through Ocado for a short period of time. It's unfortunate that the business wasn't able to keep their numbers up, however, and that it eventually faltered, with Jenkins losing his investment in its entirety. 2. Opus.
It's not a caravan, it's the Opus folding camper.
The Opus trailer tent was a bold idea, and the dragons liked the pitch they were given by the company's founders, Jonathan Harrison and Jonathan Schofield. So much so that they battled with each other to win their favor. Deborah Meaden ended up being the victor, with her offered investment of £80,000 in exchange for a 25% stake in the company. The Opus trailer tent is an ultra-lightweight camping setup that's also amazingly easy to tow behind even a small car. It's rugged, offers a low profile when folded up, and is extremely versatile. Opus had previously been featured on The Apprentice and The Gadget Show before founders decided to try their luck on Dragon's Den in the hopes of earning a little investment boost from one of the dragons. All of the dragons had nothing but good things to say about the product, and they all wanted in. But only Meaden ended up being lucky enough to be chosen. Even so, the deal didn't actually happen when all was said and done, with negotiations grinding to a halt during due diligence. We don't think this was due to any potential issues based on the product itself, but can't really comment as to why Meaden never followed up on our investment promise. We're willing to bet, however, that the company's founders managed to secure a better deal from outside investors after their episode aired, which seems to happen more often than not. The Dragons have a lot of experience, but can get fairly stingy with their deals, and there are tons of other people out there who are more than happy to toss entrepreneurs like Jonathan and Jonathan more money while asking for less equity in the company in return. This is a big reason why many Dragon's Den deals don't actually happen, and we bet Meaden will eventually regret the fact that she regretted taking the deal during due diligence, when she sees just how well Opus does when the company inevitably blows their competition out of the water. 1. Mum-to-Mum Market.
I work from home. It's just quite a small business and it's grown really fast, but it's amazing to me.
The final business that we're going to focus on today is Mum-to-Mum Market, which seemed to have plenty of support from Deborah Meaden at the end of the pitch given to the Dragons by the company's founder, Kath Harrop. She was visibly nervous throughout her pitch due to her having a lifelong fear of speaking in public, which makes the fact that she agreed to show up on Dragon's Den all the more impressive. She really put her fears aside, considering how Dragon's Den is enjoyed by literally millions of people worldwide. And we have to applaud her for that. The Dragons aren't always the easiest people to pitch to, and they can get quite aggressive at times, to be sure. Harrop is also a mother of 2 and was seeking help from the Dragons with regard to growing her fledgling business into a real powerhouse. Her bid appeared to go really well during the episode in question, and she managed to secure a deal that would have netted her a £35,000 investment from Meaden in exchange for a 25% share in the company, which is pretty high, even though it's standard for most Dragon's Den deals. Some entrepreneurs have given up much larger stakes in their companies for far less, so Harrop's negotiating skills didn't really fail her at the end of the day. Still, the deal never actually went through, and Meaden ended up pulling out of it for reasons that she never publicly revealed. Mum-to-Mum Market is all about allowing mothers of small children to recycle the toys and clothes that no longer suit their kids as they grow up, which isn't a bad idea at all, considering how much these products can cost when buying them brand new. Even though Meaden dropped out of the deal, Harrop still managed to build a successful business, and there are now at least 100 mum-to-mum markets spread all across the UK. She built the business herself and noted that all the male dragons weren't willing to touch her business, so she was happy to receive Meaden's approval, even though they ended up not becoming partners in the long run. She looks forward to continuing to grow her business on her own and enjoys the idea of helping other mothers of small children save money thanks to her brilliant idea for years to come.